Welcome to the Italian Wine Podcast. This episode is brought to you by Vinitaly International Wine and Spirits Exhibition. The 54th edition of Vinitaly was held from 10 to the 13th of April. If you missed it, don't worry. Go to vinitalyplus.com for on-demand recordings of all the sessions from the exhibition. And remember to save the date. The next edition of Vinitaly will be held from the 2nd to the 5th of April 2023.
Welcome to Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. Listen in as we journey to some of Italy's most beautiful places in the company of those who know them best, the families who grow grapes and make fabulous wines. Through their stories, we will learn not just about their wines, but also about their ways of life, the local and regional foods and specialities that pair naturally with their wines, and the most beautiful places to visit. We have a wonderful journey of discovery ahead of us, and I hope you will join me. Today we are heading south into Puglia, Italy's southernmost region on the Adriatic side. We're at La Cantina di Andria, in Andria, otherwise known as La Vignuolo, to meet Sebastiano Spagnoletti Zeuli, who is the sales manager of this important small group of wine growers. Ciao Sebastiano, how are you today? Is the sun shining in Puglia?
Hi Mark, everything good, and definitely it is sun shining here in Puglia.
I imagine the sun almost always shines.
Most of the time. We had quite a rainy winter this year.
Is that right? Yeah. Probably not as rainy as we've had in England. Tell us a little bit about where you are. Give our listeners a chance to imagine Andria, the Murgia, and the beauty of the region you're in.
So we are basically in Puglia, so the region which is on the heel of the boot of Italy. Andria is located in the northern part of Puglia. We are 60 kilometers north from Bari, which is the biggest city here in Puglia. And Andria is 10 kilometers from the seaside and basically at the gates of the Murgia area. So we are in the middle between the sea and the hilly zone of the Murgia area. We are in a sunny area. We're clearly in the south of Italy, and you have both aspects which are definitely a must to see.
The aspects, you mean, of the sea and the inland hills?
Absolutely. Seaside. You have the great, nice and relaxing moments of the sea, and you have also the Murgia area, which is different every time of the year. If you come in the springtime, like now, it's basically all green, and it seems to be in another place, not in Puglia, not in the south. While in the summer, it changes completely, and it becomes almost lunar as a landscape, because it becomes all yellow, and it changes a lot its configuration. So it's very interesting because it's a landscape which changes a lot over time.
Okay, it sounds absolutely beautiful. I've been to the Murgia, and I remember this unique landscape. Of course, it was an area that one of the great characters of the Middle Ages, Frederick II, known as Il Stupor Mundi, loved and built his favorite castle in just outside of where you are. Tell us a little bit about this.
Yes, he was quite attached to Andria. In fact, Andria was called by Frederick II once he came back from Palestine and embraced him when at his return. Was called by Frederick II Andria Fidelis. Was one of the few cities which decided to embrace and to welcome the emperor back from his adventures. And in fact, very close to Andria, he built Castel del Monte, which is a spectacular architectural castle, an octagon castle, which is placed on the highest hill here in the area. In fact, you can see it from all over the northern part of Puglia, and it's magical, I must say, because it's located in the Murgia, where you cannot hear absolutely anything, and you can see all over the Puglia area of the north.
Yes, it's really spectacular. In fact, it's a UNESCO heritage site, isn't it?
It is, and it's one of the most visited places that in this area, together with Trani. And in fact, Gucci is going to exhibit its garments in the next month. So it's definitely an important and must-see place to go.
Yes, absolutely. That's interesting that Gucci is going to be exhibiting, because I think Frederick II was known to love lavish fabrics and beautiful things. So it's fitting to have that in his former home. Now, La Cantina di Andria, known also as Vignuolo, tell us a little bit about the history of your winery. You're a small cooperative of wine growers, is that correct?
We are. We have a history of a cooperative which started a little before than the La Cantina di Andria. With in the 50s, the cooperative was a little larger than it is now. And in 2013, a group of families of growers decided to bring along this history and continue the work of the cooperative, with the idea of focusing on three main aspects that are basically the philosophy of the cooperative, which are quality, attention to nature, and territory. So quality for us means that everything starts from the land, everything starts from the grapes, and from there on, quality needs to be continued and worked in order to give a high level quality wine. And therefore, the grapes are all certified IGP, DOC, and DOCG, which this helps us in terms of quantity, and also in terms of attention to what we bring in the winery, where our winemaker Gianfranco Ruggeri decides which is the best grape to be used in order to provide the best wine ever. Our attention to nature is very much related to the fact that we have been very interested in provide a great a balance of our ecosystem, which is also a way to reduce the amount of chemicals. And with this idea, we also decided to go in the direction of organic. Most of our family farms are now organic, and we have noticed that this is definitely better for the environment, for our customers, but also for our work, because we have to use less and less and less of chemicals in our work. And lastly, territory, where we know how is our territory, we know which is the best grape to work in this area, and this is the reason why we love to work Nero di Troia, Bombino Nero, Bombino Bianco, which are local varieties, not so well known in the world, but we believe that they have a great potential, and they must be known by all the consumers that may be interested in this kind of grapes.
Okay. I'm just going back in time and thinking that maybe when the Cantina Cooperativa was started in the 50s, I imagine the wines would have been mainly vini da taglio. Is that right? Wines that were made in bulk to send north for blending, whereas now you're making prestigious wines that win awards, that find their way all into the bottle and win awards. So it's a big transformation of the wine industry since that time.
Yes, well, initially the cooperative was a way to permit to small growers or medium growers to bring their grapes and increase value of the grapes. And the main usage of such grapes was make the grapes, make wine, and then sell it as bulk wine in the north of Italy, or also in France, for example. There was the port of Barletta, which was used for loading wine in order to be sent in the north and in France.
Okay, so these were navigable wines with enough strength and alcohol. They could survive this voyage by sea and beef up wines that needed a little bit more color, more alcohol. But now, of course, the wines are prestigious in their own right. Your best known wines bear this DOC, Denominazione d'Origine Controllata, Castel del Monte, named after Frederick II's castle that we've just discussed. Tell us a little bit about the Castel del Monte DOC, and in particular, the terroir, the territory of the Murgia that is particularly favored for viticulture.
So the DOC of Castel del Monte is one of the biggest DOC here in Puglia. It's one of the most well known, also because 3 out of 4 DOCGs are produced in this area. It is a favorable area for viticulture for different reasons. We are very close to the seaside, about 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers from the seaside. So we have this influence of the sea, which controls the temperature and doesn't give great shocks in terms of cold or heat. We have the wind, which comes from the sea, especially during the summertime, and this helps us with all the potential threats that the vines may have during the maturation of the grapes. And we are located not close to the seaside, but a little bit higher. All the vines are mainly nurtured between 100 and 300 meters above the sea line. So this helps a lot the creation of sugar during the summer, during the maturation of the grapes, with a day-night excursion of temperature quite important. So and lastly, the terroir is exceptional. I'm talking about the terrain because we have this limestone terrain, which provides to our wines this freshness, which is very much specific of this area.
Okay, that limestone giving the pH soil giving a higher acidity to both the reds and the whites. Is that correct?
It gives a nice acidity to the reds, to the whites, to the rosé. One of the most important things that we produce is rosé. It's very much in our heritage, and it provides a nice drinkability and a nice pairing with all the food that we make here in Puglia.
Now, you've mentioned some of the autochthonous, some of the native grape varieties of your area, and you're right, they're not well known to wine drinkers, wine lovers around the world, but they do deserve to be better known. So let's introduce, for example, Nero di Troia, which I think is capable of producing truly great red wine.
It does, definitely. There is a nice myth about Nero di Troia. The myth says that Diomedes brought Nero di Troia directly from Troy after the war, and he planted it close to Canosa, and from there on it spread it all over the north part of Puglia. It is definitely difficult vine to be nurtured because and also to bring to full maturation the grape. It normally fully matures between the first days of October till the 20th of October. So it's a very late maturing grape. And you can use it if you manage, or for red wines if the maturation went in the right way, or in rosé if maturation didn't really go in the right direction. In red wine, it is an incredible grape because you have this special tannic structure, which provides to the wine a DNA for refining and in bottle and for aging. And in the noses, you have always this violet, which is always present in its bouquet. Very powerful, very robust wine, which has definitely a great potential, in my opinion, with in providing a great wine to our customers. We have this grape used in different ways, or 100% Nero di Troia, or we blend it with Aglianico and sometimes also with Montepulciano. Different profiles of wine, Nero di Troia, which is or aged in barrique or used stainless steel vats, and also the usage of other grapes can help or can give a different way of providing Nero di Troia to the public.
Okay, that's interesting because, of course, Aglianico more associated with Campania and Basilicata, which are near your corner of Puglia, and Montepulciano from Molise, Abruzzo, also coming down here. So that's an interesting confluence of areas. I think Nero di Troia can really make some wonderful, wonderful wines of real elegance and finesse. And so I hope our listeners will look for the name and enjoy this great wine. Now, Bombino Nero, another very interesting grape, particularly for your outstanding rosato.
It is meant for rosato, this kind of grape. It's a grape which matures more or less in the same time of the Nero di Troia. We pick it a little bit earlier in order to preserve the bouquet that this kind of grape can provide. And we use it for rosato, as you mentioned. Rosato for us is Coral nuance. So we normally keep the grapes with the must about 24 hours before fermentation. And it has this special power in the nose, very warm, very sudden wine with this strawberry, this raspberry, so very fine fruits that you can see which you can feel in your nose, and in the mouth at the end you have this freshness which is very much related to the fact that is the limestone terrain provides to the wine. So it's a mixture between southern wine and northern wine, or northern white wine. So it's a perfect combination, and this is the reason why we have obtained the DOCG, because it's definitely a special wine to be drank.
This is the DOCG Castel del Monte Bombino Nero. Is that right, for the rosato?
Exactly. It is the DOCG Bombino Nero. Bombino Nero, we also make it in a combination and blend with Nero di Troia. So it is an alternative to the Bombino Nero. Bombino Nero is very elegant. It's very it has great finesse, and it's meant for aperitivo. While we blend it with Nero di Troia in order to provide a wine which has a little bit more power. It has a little bit of tonic structure, and it can be used easily to be paired with food and with a whole meal. So the idea of Bombino Nero can be vary in this case.
Okay, well, that's great. And that's a good opportunity to turn to the foods of the Murgia. I know that the Alta Murgia is noted for the transhumanza and an area of pasture land. So I'm assuming that lamb and goat feature strongly in the cucina. Is that right?
We have also that, and we have also this cow and horse and donkey's meat that is very much used in our cooking, together with a lot of vegetables. This is very specific of our area. It's unique. We use a lot of this kind of different vegetables coming from the countryside, that are handpicked directly from the people.
Would these would be wild vegetables then? The chicoria, the lampascioni, wild vegetables, or as well as cultivated in the orto?
Very much both. Quite a lot of our sauvage vegetables. We also use senap. It's very much used, or cime di rapa, for example, which are more well known. And we use a lot of this kind of vegetables. And also, for example, zucchini. We used to eat also the leaves of the zucchini with pasta. So it's everything of the vegetables, depending on the timing of the year. We have different types of vegetables and different types of plates.
Yes, I always think of Puglia as something of the Garden of Italy with such a wealth of wonderful vegetables. And of course, olive oil from Puglia is very, very fine. And you also produce your own DOP olive oil. As far as the foods of your area, if you would say there were some foods that any visitor must try, whether it's an antipasto, a primo piatto, a secondo, or a dolce, what would you advise our listeners visiting the area to make sure they eat and enjoy, matched, of course, with the wines that we've been discussing?
Well, you have mentioned transumanza. You must come to Andria and eat stracciatella or burrata and blend and pair it.
These wonderful cheeses.
Definitely incredible cheeses, and blend and pair it with a nice rosato, fresh rosato of our winery.
Okay. And you mentioned the cima di rape, so that would be ideal with the orecchiette, the pasta handmade in the shape of little ears.
They are incredible, and with a little bit of anchovy also inside and some garlic, they are special. And together with that, a nice Nero di Troia would work.
Oh, that sounds excellent. We've talking a little bit about the inland foods, but you did say the proximity of the sea is a great influence on the vines. What about on the food? Is the cucina di mare also part of the culture and the gastronomy?
Well, it's very close to the sea. Well, Andria not so much, but you can 10 kilometers from Andria there is the sea line, so you can eat Mediterranean fish and also some crudo di mare, so raw fish. And you can pair it with our white wines, which are very fresh, very nice to be paired with a fish. Bombino Bianco, in fact, is a grape which is very light and very acid, so it can be a nice companion for your meals of fish.
Well, that all sounds a really delicious menu, and another reason to visit your area. I think it's a beautiful story of the winery and of how you've developed from the historic Cantina Cooperativa into this high quality producer now of wines that are representing the Castel del Monte and the Murgia. So I hope our listeners will be more familiar with the wines, the food, and the region, and come and visit. Or is it possible for people to visit the Cantina?
Absolutely, it is possible. It's preferable to book the visit, so we can arrange the visit and arrange the tasting. We are also starting to host our visitors in our masseria in the countryside, where it will be possible to see the areas of production and also taste the wines in our corte, together with all the food that we produce. So olive oil and it will be possible also to taste mozzarella or stracciatella, for example.
That sounds absolutely wonderful. I hope I can make my way down there to visit you myself. Sebastiano, it's been a real pleasure meeting you this morning. Thank you very much for being my guest, and I hope we can meet soon. Grazie.
Grazie a te, Mark. It was a real pleasure to be invited, and I hope to see you soon here in Puglia.
Okay, grazie. A presto.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Italian Wine Podcast, brought to you by Vinitaly International Wine and Spirits Exhibition, the biggest drinks trade fair in the world. Save the date. The next edition of Vinitaly will be held the 2nd through the 5th of April 2023. Remember to subscribe to Italian Wine Podcast and catch us on SoundCloud, Spotify, and wherever you get your pods. You can also find us at ItalianWinePodcast.com. Chin chin!
Hi guys, I'm Joy Livingston and I am the producer of the Italian Wine Podcast. Thank you for listening. We are the only wine podcast that has been doing a daily show since the pandemic began. This is a labor of love and we are committed to bringing you free content every day. Of course, this takes time and effort, not to mention the cost of equipment, production, and editing. We would be grateful for your donations, suggestions, requests, and ideas. For more information on how to get in touch, go to ItalianWinePodcast.com.